Well, hello again. So it's been quite a while since my last hike, since my last video. I've actually been recovering from my ankle injury. The hardware that they put in my leg, in my ankle, sort of caused some discomfort, and just made things feel funky. So I got that taken out just a couple, 2-3 weeks ago. I'm just in the final stages of recovery from that surgery, but getting there, which is good. This is interesting. This is going to be trying a few new things all at once. I'm actually starting this video at the start of my hike. There's a bunch of stuff I want to cover, and also trying out a Christmas present for the first time. That's a little lavalier mic, so hopefully that will improve the audio quality, so we shall see. So I believe that in ourselves there are two competing desires or motivations that are kind of fundamental to who we are, to our nature. The first of those is a desire to be special and unique, to be different from everybody else, to be kind of our own person. We don't want to be someone else. We want to be us. And I just sort of preface this by saying, I guess both of these motivations, I think they're meant to be. They're part of who we are on purpose. So that first one, the desire to be unique and special. Let me just adjust this for a second. Yeah, okay, that's good. I believe that from that comes things like freedom, autonomy, creativity, our sort of some of our competitive nature. Oh, hey there. Sort of the drives that can pull us forward into what is new, and I think that's part of the drive that leads us to push beyond kind of where we are now, to push the boundaries of who we are in ourselves. So that's that's all. That's all good stuff. And there's a lot of again, a lot of positive things that come out of that drive. The second thing is, which I believe is sort of competes with that, is a desire to be part of something bigger, part of like a unified whole. So, and this is where it's sort of like the converse. We don't want to be alone. We don't want to be isolated. Even at the same time where we want to be unique and set apart, but we don't want to be alone We don't want to be, well, again, a part of us doesn't want to be unique. A part of us wants to know that there are other people like us, that we're not alone in this universe, that there are others that kind of think like we do, that understand the world like we do, that understand us as people, because they kind of are us. And so, you know, that desire, you know, kind of drives us to, you know, to teamwork, to things like, you know, loyalty, to you know, kind of pull with others, to come alongside others and you know, work with them, understand them, and you know, contribute to our community, contribute to our society, in, you know, both sort of narrow senses and broader senses. And so, as you can see, those, you know, I think those two, I know when I look inside myself, I see both of them, you know, both of them present, both of them at work. I'm sure if you look inside yourself, you probably, well, hopefully you'll see that. Otherwise, maybe I'm just a total freak. But no, I expect that you will see those things playing out in your life in, you know, in different ways. But again, the interesting thing is, they are kind of juxtaposed with each other. There's a sort of paradox there. They are kind of warring desires, and and you know, because of that, I think we, you know, in the way we sort of behave and think, we will sort of kind of oscillate or move around. You know, there's maybe a sort of a you know, a happy-ish medium, but I think in, you know, in different situations, at different times in our life, when different needs arise, we will swing one way or the other, emphasizing one aspect over the other, and you know, and that can be both a good thing and a bad thing, depending on you know, when and how that happens. You know, you can probably imagine for yourself situations where you know, if there's some sort of in some cases, if there's some sort of you know, crisis or need where, you know, as a family or as a community, you need to pull together, and if the uniqueness, the individualism, you know, it comes to the fore, you know, that can be, you know, that can be a detrimental thing. Similarly, you know, where you end up either sort of taking away from the whole, sort of undermining it, or you end up, you know, isolated, you know, outside the city walls, as it were. Similarly, there are situations where, you know, if a community is you know, a group you're a part of is just heading in a you know, a disastrous direction, but you you know, you decide, well, I don't want to create waves, I don't want to stand out, I don't want to be the tall poppy, the tallest nail gets hammered down. I'm just going to go with the flow instead of speaking up. Well, then, that can cause, the group that you're a part of to end up in a disastrous situation, because we didn't exercise that different insight, that individuality, that uniqueness that was there for a reason. So, I'm sure you can all imagine or think back on situations in your life where that happened, where you did sort of stand up when you were supposed to, and it made a difference. Or times where you think, damn it, I wish I'd spoken up then. I wish I hadn't just gone with the flow. But again, that's the thing. We sort of move around and apply those two drives, those two principles in different ways at different times, and that's the way it's supposed to be. It's what they call a dynamic equilibrium. There's sort of like a happy middle ground, if I could call it that, rather than a middle point. And we sort of move around within that ground as needed. It reminds me of there's a story in the book of Genesis that comes right after the story of Noah and the flood, and many of you may be familiar with it, the story of the Tower of Babel, and it's pretty short, but just a paraphrase. After the flood, everyone's kind of living in the same place. They all speak the same language, and they say, we're going to build a city with a big tower, and it's going to reach up to heaven, and it'll be a unifying thing, and draw all the world together, and there'll be nothing we can't do. And God sees that, and he comes down and decides to confuse everyone's languages, and so suddenly everyone starts speaking different languages, and they can't understand each other, and so the building of the city kind of falls apart, and everyone goes their separate ways. It says they're scattered across the earth, and I think in my memory of that, I'd thought, oh, that was God being angry and cursing us. But I actually just took another quick look this morning, and it's actually it doesn't say that at all. It just says God came down and went, okay, no, I need to do this, and so I realized, no, that's not. I think that's actually not a curse at all. Instead, I think it was it was actually a blessing. It was actually a necessary thing, that if we were too homogeneous, that would actually be a bad thing. And so, perhaps in order to save us from, looking at the, what mankind was saying about the city they were building, in order to save us from our own kind of arrogance and hubris, we were scattered with the different languages. But I think where it was, where it's actually a blessing, is that then, in a bunch of different ways, that it, two things I think that, at least initially, that happened, which are recorded there. I think that, because of the confusion of languages, I think people were then forced to find the other people that spoke their tongue, that spoke their language. And that's, think about this. How often have you I know I've used that phrase. It's like, oh yeah, man, this person really speaks my language. And what you're meaning is not like, oh yeah, they speak English like I do, or oh yeah, they speak German like I do. Instead, what you're saying is, this person, thinks similar things to me. They articulate thoughts that I have. Typically that's what we mean when certainly when I say, oh yeah, this person speaks my language. They are, prioritizing and articulating things the way that I do, and that makes, that draws me to them. I feel like I understand them, and they would, probably understand me. They speak my language, and so that was, that's the first thing that happened. Is people are, were forced to, seek out the people that were like them, kind of congregate with them, and at the same time, as you're looking for people who are like you, the obviously corollary of that is the understanding that there are people who are not like you, that there are a whole bunch of people out there that are different, that think differently from you, and that is the way it is. And if you go by the biblical story, whether you take that as a literal thing or a metaphorical thing, what it is saying is that differentiation, is from God. It is a thing that is meant to be, that is built into us. And then the other thing that happened is, where it says that, people were then scattered, all over the world. And again, I don't think that's not a bad thing. Once we've found the people who are like us, we then want to find a space where we can be who we are. And we need some gap, we need some differentiation from everybody else. And so that was that happened geographically. People want to find their own space where they can be who they are and with the people who are like them. And so of a necessity, all the nations of the world kind of spread out and found their own place to be. Morning. And you see that on the micro level, where kids, as they get older, they need to, they go through a phase where they are really trying to differentiate themselves from their parents, because they need to become who they are, and they will try and make their own space, and that comes in sort of having their own likes and dislikes, sort of their room, when they're younger, their room becomes sort of like their domain. They want it to look the way they want it to look, be messy sometimes, or but be their own kind of little personal cave. And then ultimately, they typically at some stage will hopefully want to move out, and again, so they can go to that next step of being who they want to be. So on the kind of more macro scale, and that's where we end up with, what I call in the title of this video, tribalism. That we want to be a part of something, but we want to have that sense of uniqueness, and so we become parts of differing sized tribes, if you will, differing sizes of community, and the level to which we identify, the degree of commonality kind of sort of decreases as you go out through kind of, you imagine, ever expanding rings of community. You have the people who are closest to you, who are the most like you, and then a wider community you are sort of still connected to, but somewhat less, and there's a lower degree of commonality, and that goes out through different communities, through states, through nations. And I guess as it's time for me to get my breath back, I'm going to finish with that I think this is absolutely a good and necessary thing. It is a part of our nature as people, and those those levels of tribalism are meant to they're meant to be there, because they are they're there to promote both inclusion and creativity, contribution to a community, but alongside of identity and uniqueness. It is creativity and autonomy grow out of the uniqueness. Responsibility, contribution, I think, come out of that sense of belonging. So in its appropriate, let's leave with this, in its appropriate form, tribalism is absolutely a good and necessary, normal and healthy thing. And anyone that tells you different, you got to question. You've really got to question why are they saying that, and what is behind that. So I have more thoughts, but I think this is it's time to take a break. I think back to the the classic epic movies. They would always have an intermission, halfway through, to, as my daughter says, respect people's attention span, respect their bladder, so they can go have a pee, and then come back to it when they're ready. So I'm going to leave off here. Thanks for listening. Please, if you appreciate this, like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you in the next one. Thanks.